Do you think everything in the Bible is there for a reason? Even its unrecognizable place names? I've spent nearly 30 years studying this question. Join me to experience how the regions of the Holy Land are part of the story. I'm Jack Beck, and this is the Holy Land. If you're like most Bible readers, you're a little hazy on the details of how the Israelites came into the Promised Land. The story you probably know best is the Battle of Jericho, when God told Joshua and the Israelites to march around the city and blow their horns, and the walls came tumbling down. But what if I told you there's a much more important battle, a battle you've never heard of? Interested? Today, I'm going to tell you about when Joshua fought the Battle of the Benjamin Plateau. The story starts in Jericho, shortly after the walls came tumbling down, so that's where I'm headed. Jericho is located on the eastern edge of Israel in the Jordan River Valley. It's where the Israelites entered the Promised Land for the first time after centuries in Egypt and 40 years in the desert. Today, it's part of the Palestinian West Bank. Gosh, for the first time, you and I together are getting to see this view right here. Yeah?
Look at this.
Amir is with me to help tell the story of how the Battle of Jericho led to the Battle of the Benjamin Plateau. In the 1990s, he was the Deputy Governor of Jericho during the Palestinian-Israeli peace talks. He's an expert military strategist with a deep knowledge of this land and its history.
Everything here was about God leading a nation into a land, and Jericho set the tone. It was necessary.
Yeah.
Joshua needs to take the place where he can cross the river and find water. I'm talking about fresh water that would give you a way to sustain yourself and your soldiers, and to literally be a way where you can create an encampment from where you will conduct your next battles in Joshua 8, 9, 10, 11, all of them. So everyone from Jericho and on knew what the Israelites are all about.
At this point in history, the land was called Canaan, and it was controlled by a number of city-states with a long history of conflict among themselves. The Gibeonites, who lived on the Benjamin Plateau, decided that rather than fight the Israelites, they would trick them into a peace treaty. They sent a delegation to Joshua, pretending to be people from a faraway land. This treaty would go directly against what God had commanded Joshua to accomplish, a complete defeat of all the Canaanite kings and cities. Without seeking wisdom from the Lord, Joshua fell for their ruse. The Israelites were humiliated, and their conquest was now more complicated. But just when the Gibeonites thought they were safe, the surrounding city-states, headed by the king of Jerusalem, attacked the Gibeonites. These other city-states feared for their own safety now that Israel had allies on the Benjamin Plateau. Despite being tricked, Joshua and the Israelites decided to honor their treaty, and to do that they were forced to mobilize, not to conquer the Benjamin Plateau, but to defend their new allies. Amir and I decided to follow their route, leaving the desert oasis of Jericho and heading through the treacherous terrain of the Judean Wilderness to the Benjamin Plateau. When I think about where this all began down here versus where we're going up to the Benjamin Plateau, Amir, what's the difference in military strategy between those two locations?
It's a completely different ballgame. You didn't have to carefully look at where you're walking here. It's pretty much everything is flat here. But when you get there, if you're in the wrong ravine, it gets you to the wrong place.
Yeah.
It should be left here.
Wadi Uja?
This is it. But I don't understand why they don't have a road sign, a name or a number.
I have not been on this road, so this is new for me.
This is it, for example. If we would have waited maybe 5 more minutes to take left, we would have reached a completely different area.
Yeah.
Here, one wrong turn, that's it.
And not every passageway is of the same quality.
Exactly. Joshua was smart enough to know where to go, where he's least expected. And how did he do that? He sent spies to make sure that where are the people waiting for me, and he knew exactly where. So you have to be always thinking 10 steps ahead.
Joshua's decision to honor the treaty wasn't only to keep his word. The flat and fertile Benjamin Plateau interrupts the rugged Judean Central Mountain Range. It provides a travel corridor necessary for this region's ancient livelihood and security. If Joshua's army successfully defeated the army that was marching against their new allies, they would have control of the economic corridors to all the city-states in the region.
I'm holding on right now.
I know, it's pretty narrow here. But
it tightens up.
It is, look, if it's narrow for cars, can you imagine what it was then?
As we neared the plateau, I took an opportunity to pull off the mountain road and look back on the wilderness we'd been traveling through.
There you go. Pretty sharp rocks over there.
As a pilot, I felt more than comfortable pulling off the winding cliffside road.
And I'm locked in.
Thankfully, I'm better at flying airplanes and driving cars than getting out of them. Wow, if there's one thing this view makes clear, it's that you don't just travel anywhere when you move from the Jordan River Valley to the interior. Why would you say, Amir, this is going to be the best route for Joshua and the soldiers to use as they head towards the Benjamin Plateau?
It's quite simple. What determines the route is the target. These people are not just leisurely walking around, they are rushing to help. So they're thinking about how do we get there fast and how do we get there quietly without being seen or heard. And that's the only option we can think of.
Joshua led the Israelite army all night through the Judean Wilderness, climbing more than 3,200 feet in elevation. They reached the Benjamin Plateau as the sun was rising, exhausted after this difficult all-night march. What they saw was the Gibeonites surrounded by the neighboring kings and their armies. This was winner take all. The battle to come would determine who controlled the region. God's plan appeared to hang in the balance. I'm at Nevi Samuel, overlooking the very same battlefield. For the first time, and I would argue for the only time in the story of the conquest, God's people of the past were fighting against 5 cities at once and their armies. And what I love is the way the Lord showed up at this intersection, at this time of uncertainty, and he did something extraordinary. As Joshua comes into the arena, the Lord sends panic through the 5 city-state armies, and they go tearing out of this intersection. In fact, they go towards the horizon, down a ridge that's going to take them back towards their home. And then the Lord did something else extraordinary. He used the narrow ridge on which those soldiers were fleeing and all compressed together as a target. And he sends hail from heaven, and the text says more soldiers died that day from the hailstorm than they did from the swords of the Israelite soldiers. Joshua pursued the fleeing armies. Between the hailstorm and the sword, the victory that God gave Joshua and the Israelites was decisive. Despite their failure to seek the Lord's wisdom when being tricked by the Gibeonites, despite exhaustion from an all-night trek through the mountains, and despite the insurmountable odds they faced in a battle against 5 city-states, they were now in control of the Benjamin Plateau. This plateau controls the economic well-being and national security of Jerusalem. Roads come to this place from the north, from the south, from the west, and the east, and they all meet just here. And this gave Joshua and the Israelites another strategic victory. It enabled them to divide and conquer the Promised Land. They would no longer be outmatched, fighting alliances of city-states. Now they'd be fighting on their terms. In the middle of the story, God used the trickery of the Gibeonites and the failure of Joshua's leadership for the good of the Israelites and the advancement of the salvation story. That's the sort of God we have. The God who comes to us in the times when we're in the middle, at this intersection of our lives and this intersection of uncertainty, and he does the miraculous to make sure that the ending might be known from the middle. When I see this place in my Bible, an in-between place with stories of hardship and conflict, I see that God is in control. And that brings me encouragement, knowing that when I find myself at the crossroads of a difficult journey, when I make mistakes, my story doesn't end there.